going on, Chargers fans? Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Will Ortner. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the hidden gem that the Los Angeles Chargers were able to find after the 2026 NFL Draft. That's right. We're talking about Dame Tucker, the Western Michigan edge rusher. And he's certainly someone that we've spoken very highly of this offseason. Obviously, we think that he has shown throughout everything that he's been able to do with the Los Angeles Chargers that there is a spot for him on this roster. Now, the question is how big of a position is he going to get? And I certainly think that the more and more that we talk about Dame Tucker, the more and more that the rest of the national media is going to realize just how talented this kid is. Obviously, Chris Rim does a great job of writing for ESPN on the Los Angeles Chargers. He's mentioned Dame Tucker. But how many other people have mentioned Dame Tucker? That number is absolutely tiny. Will Dame Tucker play a major role for the Chargers in the 2026 NFL season? Let me know yes or no. I do think that if he ends up making it as that fourth edge rusher on this team, which he is certainly in a very good position to be able to do so, that would be playing a major role because he's going to be used a lot in passing situations. And if he's out there in a lot of passing situations, well, I'll tell you right now, Dame Tucker is going to be able to come away with a lot of big plays. Now, what am I talking about? Why am I able to talk about Dame Tucker with that much confidence? Well, it's simple to me, really. We've been able to see what Dame Tucker was able to do in college. And now it is a one-year sample size, but his last year over at Western Michigan was absolutely absurd. The guy had one of the highest numbers when it came to tackles. He led the NCAA in TFLs. Dude, that sack number and pressure rate is absolutely out of this world. Now, to be fair, again, 100% honesty here. We're an honesty podcast. This was against the MAC, so it's not necessarily the best competition in college football. To sit here and say he was doing this against a bunch of jabronis would just, well, be absolutely false. When we look at the accolades that Tucker was able to get in that final season, he was a third-team All-American. And if you're a guy who's in the MAC, your numbers have to be absolutely ridiculous to be able to put yourself into a position to where you are going to be able to get an All-American nod. He was the MAC Defensive Player of the Year as an edge rusher, to be able to take over games for a Western Michigan team. The way that Tucker was able to do is absolutely unheralded, and it's something that you absolutely need to have in the MAC. It feels like if you're in one of those group of 5 schools, if you're going to have one of your better seasons, you need to have an absolute star on the defense or an absolute star on the offense. And Dame Tucker, I'm telling you right now, was probably the best player, not just the best defensive player in the MAC. And I've already told you about his TFL numbers and his sack numbers. He was top of the FBS in both of those categories, either all by himself or he was tied with someone. And in a defense that you are going to play here in Los Angeles for new DC Chris O'Leary, you have to be able to play both the run and the pass. Now, obviously, O'Leary was very high on Tucker because, well, he was his DC in college. He likes the kid. He thinks the kid's going to be able to play really well for him, and he's going to be able to add into what the Chargers are trying to do. Now, the defense that they're going to run in Los Angeles, it's going to be similar to Jesse Mentor's last year. Tucker fits that edge rusher role perfectly, and it's clear that if Chris O'Leary's bringing him into the NFL and saying, hey, man, I want you on my team, well, then shoot, players are going to love playing for him. I think that Dame Tucker is going to come in and make this squad. I think that there is a really good shot that we're talking about him not being on the final 53-man roster, not talking about him being in a position to make the final 53-man roster. I think we're going to be talking about him almost, I don't want to say as a shoo-in, but certainly as someone that probably by that last preseason game, we're not talking about will he make the team. It will be how much time is he going to get with this squad. When you look at the linebacker depth chart, I think it's pretty clear right now. The fact that Dame Tucker has put himself into a position where he's already vying for that fourth edge rusher spot is a big deal. Now, we know that Bud Dupree and Kennard, they're obviously going to be fighting for that position as well. But what's really important to note is that Dame Tucker, with everything that he's done, if you are going to make an impact as a UDFA on a team your very first year, you need to follow the blueprint that Dame Tucker has followed for this Chargers team because he's been absolutely perfect. I got more to discuss, but before we do, I need to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Let's take a look at my lineup for the football action this year. I have the more on Justin Herbert pass yards. I believe the offense will be much improved in LA And that should hopefully lead to more pass yards for Herbert. That's why I have the more on his passing yards. I have the more on Quentin Johnston receiving TDs. I believe that Johnston will have more opportunities to catch the football with a hopefully improved offense in Los Angeles. That's why I have the more on his receiving TDs. I also have the more on Rashid Shaheed receiving yards. A full offseason in Seattle should help Shaheed build better chemistry with Darnold, and that's why I have the more on his receiving yards. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description. So there's a couple of reasons why I think that Dame Tucker has a real shot at making this team. First of all, Bud Dupree has been, well, let's be honest, he's been disappointing in his time in Los Angeles. And really, I think as you look at his career, you're starting to see that real regression from him. It feels like year after year, he's taking a step back, he's taking a step back, he's taking a step back. And personally, there needs to be more improvement, in my opinion, from this Chargers team. And specifically at that third, maybe fourth edge rusher position. And now it does feel like the Chargers have found an improvement there with Akeem Mesidor, or hopefully at least a continuance of what the Chargers were able to do with Odafe Oweh last year. But an improvement is needed, and I don't know that this Chargers team is going to be able to run out onto the field with Bud Dupree as their fourth edge rusher and feel confident anymore in his abilities. Gone are the days from earlier in his career where Dupree was someone that you could reliably count on and say, that's going to be a guy who gets to the quarterback time in and time again. Unfortunately, it just feels like at some point Father Time wins all of his battles, and Bud Dupree's battle against Father Time has been, well, won. Tucker is showing out every single day, man. It feels like every single time that we have seen him out on the field, he has been someone that's had a lot of success for this team. We were doing constant reports during OTAs and during minicamp here on the channel, and it certainly felt like every day there was a new report. Hey, Dame Tucker, he got a couple of sacks. Hey, Dame Tucker knocked a football down. Hey, Dame Tucker was winning in a lot of his individual drills. Hey, Dame Tucker was getting to the quarterback, forcing fumbles. Hey, Dame Tucker was in on a bunch of tackles. Every single day there was a new report, and somewhere, whether it was big and bold or down at the very bottom, it was, hey, Dame Tucker kept making plays. Now, yes, that's going to be more against twos and threes, not necessarily against the ones, and you can only judge so much from a defensive lineman during OTAs and minicamp because, well, they don't have pads on yet, so how much are you able to take from it? You're still able to take a little bit from it. And that's showing us that Tucker is able to pick up the defense very quickly, although he does have a leg up when it comes to the way and verbiage that Chris O'Leary is going to call this defense. But to be able to go out there and during those drill sessions where you are getting after it, even though you might not have pads on, be able to make plays, that's a big deal. I think that Tucker is a great long-term fit for this team as well. Because when you look at some of the guys that he's battling, they are guys who have been in the National Football League now for quite some time. And I think the edge rusher position in Los Angeles is going to go through some changes. Now, I think that Thule and Akeem Mesidor are going to be here for a while, but while I think that Bud Dupree probably doesn't make it in Los Angeles another year, maybe two, if he does, who knows with Kennard, Khalil Mack, at this point, it feels like we are starting to see that downward trend in his career. Again, not attacking Khalil Mack, but he's an elder player. He's been in the National Football Team for a very long time. When he played with the Raiders, they were still in Oakland. That's how long he's been playing in the National Football League. Again, not to attack Khalil Mack, but it certainly feels like the retirement rumors this offseason were real, and it was at least considered. So to me, Khalil Mack has maybe one, maybe two, maybe 3 years left. Maybe. I think that what we have there on that graphic, 2 years is probably the most realistic. And I think if the Chargers do win the Super Bowl this year, it's done. He's retiring. He's going out on top, which is the way that I would do it. But that means there's going to be another position open. So are you going to keep a guy like a Dupree or a Kennard, a guy who, oh, yeah, maybe they add in this year, but look, they're probably not in our long-term plans? When you take a guy like Dame Tucker, I know he's an older rookie, but you can still take him, put him onto this roster, and play him pretty quickly. I think it's pretty easy which way you're going to slide there. Are the Chargers good enough to win a title this season? Let me know down below in the comment section, yes or no. I think for me personally, I'm in a position right now, yeah, I think they are. Now they need some things to go their way. Guess what? You need a bunch of things to go your way as a team that's trying to win a title. Happens all the time. So I do think that this team is good enough to win a title. And if the Chargers are going to win a title, they need good defensive depth. They need to be able to weather an injury here or there. Look, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this team stays 100% healthy, but there's no guarantee that they will. And when you look at the last two Super Bowl champions between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks, yeah, they have stars on their teams, for sure. But I think the Chargers have an equal number of stars. I might make the argument that their stars are better than some of the Eagles and Seahawks stars, depending on the position that you are talking about. But with both that Eagles team and the Seahawks team, they won with depth. Either having the ability to constantly have defensive linemen go out on the field, to have constant running backs be able to go out on the field, to be able to have a multitude of different players fill in on the offense or on the defense when injuries happen. Look, you still have to be healthy during that postseason run, but you need to be able to withstand injuries. No team starts the year with their 11 starters on offense, their 11 starters on defense, and all 22 of those guys stay healthy. It just does not happen. So you have to be able to have depth, and depth in multiple different positions. Tucker is a great depth piece. If there was an injury at edge rusher, knock on wood if you're with me, men, hopefully it doesn't happen. But if there was an injury, I want Dame Tucker being the guy who fills in next. He does a great job of stopping the run. He does a great job of getting after the quarterback. You need depth. You need to be able to have depth if you want to win a title. Hit that subscribe button. We're constantly keeping you updated on the Los Angeles Chargers. Don't miss out on anything that we've got here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. I hope that you have a wonderful one. And as always, bolt up.